Okay, so the question was how to decalcify, or what was the benefit of decalcification? Okay, so what are the benefits of decalcification? We'll just say it. The benefit of decalcification, you can separate in two things. So if you want to look at it from the meditation aspect, you'd want to look at clear meditation, clear view in your meditation, and even more lucid dream if you're working your meditation toward dream. But if you're doing conscious meditation, you have less parasite thought and you have more concentration. So that's basically, and of course it allows you to concentrate on your third eye. So any third eye exercise you already know how to do become much clearer. It's also much easier to channel, especially for image, but also for sounds, that you'll experience it on your own. And physiologically, if you're not a person who meditates, physiologically usually you're bothered with different problems, rather can be depression, migraine, anxiety, or not sleeping, and all that once again is achieved by decalcifying the pineal gland. The pineal gland calcify, the way we used to see it is with age, and that's why we used to describe kids having more vivid dreams. So in some I cannot say old medical book, but at this point they're all old, and in different countries, every country has pay attention on something different. They would actually say this. They say, kids dream are different, and sometimes we explain even adulthood, talking about the classification of the pineal gland. Nevertheless, in the past this was understood, and where we build the monastery are usually places where the water doesn't contain this much calcium, and you do not go over the process of calcification as strong. You also want to understand that those monasteries are so in specific type of rock where they usually silicate and iron, and they're also in high altitudes, and the water is highly charged, so it helps to decalcify it with the ions, and basically you don't recalcify it after. And it was for people who would dedicate themselves through meditation, channeling, and the spiritual path. All the other people that will live in part where you have aquifer, which they usually sit into limestone, that's where you have the calcium came from, it's calcium carbonate, and this is where you have the calcification come from. Nowadays there is like this big thing about the relation between fluoride and calcification and pineal gland, and there is even a lot of perception on how is that come from, why is that come from, and whether is an intention connect to it. So that's like almost politic, and I cannot answer to that because I have no clue. But what I can tell you for sure is this, and the fluoride personally helps us with the device because it's pretty simple. The reason, the perception why there is fluoride in your toothpaste is because it makes your tooth stronger. What happens is when fluoride enters in your tooth, it replaces calcium, but that combination calcium fluoride make a harder tooth. Nevertheless, even if your tooth is harder, it would tend to shatter more easily. That's just what it's becoming, like a rock that can shatter. So because it's harder, you're not gonna shatter it, but if you were to break its resistance, it will shatter. And because the devices we use create a resonance in the pineal gland, and this is why the people who experience it, sometimes they feel heat in their brain. Most of the people who actually have suffered from migraine, they are very connected to internal sensation of the brain, and they would say, I can feel the heat. Other people, they will feel no heat because they don't feel anything over there, and you have no reason to actually feel pain inside the brain. You'll get some image. But nevertheless, the fluoride create a very crystallized compound that, like I say, of course it's harder, it dissolves less faster, but when it's exposed to frequency, it shatters like glass. It's just shattered like glass, and it's just easier to break. So it's not a problem. Rather you have it, rather you don't have it. If there is no fluoride in the water that you drink in your country, the decalcification works just as best. The thing is with fluoride is that even if you drink pure water for a long time, it's not really gonna help the decalcification at that point, because it formed like a little shell. And if you want to picture it in your mind, the pineal gland is something so small, and it's responsible for so much, just like the pituitary gland, which is just as small, and it's like a pea. It's very small. It's very small like a pea, but you can see it as a very small tiny ball with a shell, just like an egg. And the shell is made out of calcium, just like an egg, and it's made out of calcium because it is connected to your blood. And when we make resonate that egg, because we know the frequency that it starts to resonate, and it is different for everyone, but we are aware of that. We are working with very sophisticated sets of frequencies that works for everyone, and that vibration make the fluorine and the calcium shatter, and that's what free the pineal gland from the toxin and basically everything that blocks it.